Instead of learning Ledodi Maamar, we're going to learn the Rebbe's Maamar of Ledodi in Chelik Dalid of Maamarim Lukotim, page Shin Sabach Gimel. Okay, because the Rebbe explained a lot in detail about the Rebbe's Maamar in Ledodi. Okay, the pasuk says Ledodi li Rashotei v'Elul. It says the pasuk in Shir Hashem says, "I'm to my beloved is to me." So it's an acronym of Elul. Mavor b'Ledodi Torah b'Maamar Divrei Matzchul Zeh. And the Rebbe explains in Ledodi Torah this Maamar Zeh Shaychus the Elul ani Ledodi li. The connection, the fact that Elul is an acronym for ani Ledodi li is an acronym for Elul. So obviously there's a connection. So now the Rebbe explains in his Maamar. What is the connection? Ki be'Elul zerusa de l'sata. Elul, unlike Nisan, there's two primary months. There's Nisan and there's Tishrei. Nisan, we know, as the pasuk says, Nigla aleim melech malchei amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem revealed himself to the Jews. That's a gilui momayla, like the word nes. Like the word nes means miracle. Elul, Tishrei, on the other hand, is the aveda momata l'mayla. Like we learn many times, even the name Tishrei is Tav Shin Reish Yud, is the Aleph Beis going backwards. So Mamata L'mayla. But even in this, Ani Ledodi is the Aved of Elul. But Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur is Amshach Mamayla Lamata. It's Rusa de La'ila, which is the level of Doidili. So in other words, the Rebbe explains that Ani Ledodi v'Doidili is two parts. Ani Ledodi is Elul, Ani Ledodi, the Aved of the Jew elevating himself, becoming closer to Hashem. And then you have the Doidili, which is the Gilui of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. And this revelation of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, what causes it to happen? Through the Aved of Elul, the Aved of the Jew, Mamata L'mayla, then you got the level of Mamayla Lamata. V'zeh she'elul Rosh Tevas ani Ledodi v'Doidi li. Shegam Doidi li nichol b'Rosh Tevas Elul. So the Rebbe is, in Yiddish it's called Bavoning, the Rebbe is answering an unasked question. Elul is Rosh Tevas ani Ledodi v'Doidi li. That means ani Ledodi v'Doidi li is all Elul. And yet the Rebbe is saying Doidi li is Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. So how could that be part of Elul? So the Rebbe is explaining because Doidi li comes through Ani Ledodi, through the Aved of Ani Ledodi. So then you come to Doidi li. Kiserul so the Lesata shebe'el Ani Ledodi is also Hagdom of Amshach Ledodi li sheberosh Hashanah v'Yom Kippurim. Okay. So he says that the Rebbe says you need to understand Ki mizeh sheich yizvav lamed. Rosh Tevas v'Doidi li are part of Elul. Mashma shechedesh Elul. Until now, the Rebbe is explaining this, and now the Rebbe comes out that Ani Ledodi is the introduction to Doidi li, which is really Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. But the Rebbe asked, we need to understand, because the fact that Doidi li, v'Doidi li, is in Elul, the Rosh Tevas of Elul, so it's not only Akdama to Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. It means there's a Doidi li in Elul. Loirak Akdama Ledodi li Ela shebechedesh Elul is also the inyan of a Doidi li. Okay, so that's one question the Rebbe asks. L'chayra, Ani Ledodi v'Doidi li, the Rebbe explains Ani Ledodi is Aved of Ani Ledodi, the Jew to Hashem. Doidi li is the Gili from Hashem to the Jew, which is Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. So l'chayr, how does it get to Elul? V'Doidi li should not be in the Rosh Tevas Elul. Mamshach ba'Maamar. Now the Rebbe continues in the Maamar, Sheba Elul is man Yud Gimel Midas Rachmi. What is the month of Elul? The month of Elul is a revelation of Yud Gimel Midas Rachmi. Like we know, the third time Moshe Rabbeinu was in Har Sinai, so the first 40 were good, then the second 40 Hashem was angry, then the third 30 Hashem finally said, Salachti Kidvarecha, but the Yemei Rachamim, why? Because in Elul is the revelation of Yud Gimel Midas Rachmi. Hagam shebe'elu Ani Ledodi yisrusa de l'sato, but l'chayda, the Rebbe asks now like this. Yud Gimel Midas Rachmim is a revelation from above. But Elul is ani Ledodi. So it's not a revelation from above. It's a rule to the Sat Mekama came. It's a rule to the Lasata Shalom Adam, nevertheless, the awakening from below of the person, even when he's far from Elokus, is Aidei Seiris in the Sinas Kech Mumayla. In other words, Rabbi is explaining, how can you have a gili? You'll give him the Serachim if it's a gili from above, if Ani Ledodi is the Aved of the Jew. So the Rabbi is explaining, because in order for a Jew, especially if he's far from Hashem, to do Ani Ledodi, you need the revelation of you Gimel Midas Rachman. It has to be like we learned by Yikra Moshe, then you can have Adam Kiyakov. It's an interesting thing. The Rebbe, I just mentioned the Shabbos. The Rebbe explains, there's an interesting sikha from the Rebbe. Remember, when Rosh Chodesh Shalom came around, everybody felt the tshuva wind. Everybody. So the Rebbe asks, that sikha, the Frierdiker Rebbe said on Pesach. On Pesach, in Lukut Deburim, there's a sikha on Pesach that the Frierdiker Rebbe said that when Shabbos and Baruch Elul came in the city of Lubavitch, they felt the whole atmosphere changed, they felt the tshuva wind. So the Rebbe asked, why is the Frierdiker Rebbe saying that sikha on Pesach? It should be a Tishrei sikha, not a Elul sikha, not a Pesach sikha. So the Rebbe explains what the Rebbe is saying here, that in what caused the tshuva wind to be felt in Elul, what causes the avoid of Elul? The inyan of Pesach, the Gilui Mamayla. So even the Yud Gimel Midas Rachmi is what's causing the Ani Ledodi actually to happen. Oh, by the way, the class is sponsored by Avram Aradi in honor of his birthday. The Gilui Yud Gimel Midas Rachmi Sheba Elul, the Gilui Zehu L'chol Echad V'echad Mi Yisrael. Why? Because the Gilu of Yud Gimel Midas Rachmim is not only to tzaddikim, even people that are very, very far. Therefore, the Yud Gimel Midas Rachmim is the koyach mumayla and the aved of Ani Ledodi. Okay, so the Rebbe is explaining another point of the Alter Rebbe's mashal. That the Yud Gimel Midas Rachmim, which is revealed in Elul, in fact, the Alter Rebbe asks the question, the Rebbe is going to explain, but then it should be a Yom Tif. What's the difference between Yom Tif and a weekday? Yom Tif is a greater Gilu of Elokus than a regular weekday, so it's a Yom Tif. Yud Gimel Midas Rachmim is a fantastically great Gilu of Elokus. So the whole Elul should be a Yom Tif. Okay, that the Rebbe is going to explain soon. But he said, Gilu Sheba Elul is be'ikarat nesinas koyach v'lo shagili me'er l'sa'odam ba'aveda atzma ba'me. Okay, let me explain this also. But the Rebbe explains how do you have the gili Yud Gimel Midas Rachmim because Ani Ledodi. Ani Ledodi is not the gili Mamayla. So the Rebbe explains this: the Yud Gimel Midas Rachmim that's revealed in Elul is not making it happen. Is giving the Jew the potential, the Nesinas Koyach, that a Jew should wake up. But it's not coming, it's not Avedim, he says, it's not the revelation from above awakens the person. It's just giving him the Koyach to do it. Okay? So he says this, that the Yud Gimel Midas Rachmim is causing the Jew to have the Ani Ledodi. It's not revealing it within the Jew. It's giving him the koyach to be able to do Ani Ledodi. But Aveda comes Ani Ledodi. What? There's the mile of Elul, even Tshuva, seemingly is a greater time than Elul. But the Rebbe explains there's a Maila in Elul, there's an advantage a month even over Aseret Yemei Tshuva. Why? The Aseret Yemei Tshuva B'fat Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippurim. Aseret Yemei Tshuva, especially Gilui Ba'efen Shegilui Me'erer L'Sodom. The Gilui actually awakens the person, wakes him up. Rosh Hashanah, like you said before, Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur is Dirshu Hashem B'hi Matzai. The Rambam says, Karo b'yosek, the Rambam says in Ochos Tshuva, that pasuk goes on Aseret Yemei Tshuva. So Hashem then is close, Kira v'amor al anitzos, the more Hashem is close to Avidron, Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, so that taka awakens the Jew. It's not Stam giving him the koyach to do it. He's actually awakening the Jew. The Avodas Adam is a Teitzah Magilu Mamayla. Rosh Yom Kippur, the Avodah of the Jew is only an offshoot of the awakening from above. In other words, it begins from an awakening from above that awakens the Jew, and then the Jew does the Avodah. Here, the awakening from above is not causing any Avodah, it's just giving him the ability to do the Avodah. The Nesinas Koyach. V'ikaro inyan the Maila the Avodas Adam. And the primary mile of Avodas Adam Avei B'Keich Atzmei is Ani Ledodi Be'el. In other words, like this: the ultimate goal of creation and everything is Avodas Adam. Right? It says Hashem created the world. V'Adam Alel Barasi. And I created a person on the world. V'Yinecha B'Ganed Lav D'Roshama. Okay. Like it says at the beginning, there's no person yet to do Aveda. The whole purpose of creation, because Hashem Milmaila could do whatever he wants. But why doesn't he? Because he wants us, Aveda, B'Kerech Atzmei. You can keep doing the homework for the kid, you can keep teaching him, but eventually what do you want him to do? He wants to come Aveda, B'Kerech Atzmei, he wants to come in his own Aveda. His own Aveda, the Jew should do it on his own. So the ultimate Aveda is Ani Ledodi. The ultimate Aveda is Ani Ledodi. So Elul is the revelation Gimel Midas Rachmim that gives the Nesinas Koyach, that gives the ability to do it. Rosh Yom Kippur is Ma'arid. It's a much more open Gilui that's causing the Jew to do the Aveda. So he says like this. To explain these two things in the Gilu Yud Gimel Midas Rachim Sheba'elu, that the Gilu is Elul, is L'Kol Echad V'Echad Gam L'Acheikim B'Yeser, when the Alter Rebbe gives the Mashal Melech Basada. Yeah? The king is in the field. The field is not the city. And the Rebbe explains, the Alter Rebbe alludes to it in the Kitzur of the Maamar, it's interesting, not even in the Maamar, that it refers even to Midbar. The Alter Rebbe's Mashal is Melech Basada. But there's a Midbar, Sada, there's three levels. There's Ir, there's Sada, and Midbar. Ir is, as it says, Yosef Adam Sham, where people live. Ir represents Adam Elyon, Yosef Adam Sham. Adam represents the Gilu of Elokus. That's Ir. Gadol Hashem u'muhulu ma'id be'ir alikeinu. Ir represents the Gilu of Elokus. Then you have Sada. Sada, nobody lives in a Sada. But nevertheless, Sada is where you get all your food from. The sustenance of a person comes from the field. So it's not the living of the person, but it's the sustenance. You get all the food, so the bread, lechem levav v'nishtisad. And then you have Midbar, which is mamish desolate. So in L'Kutei, the Alter Rebbe's Moshe is really Melech Basada. But the Rebbe says in many places, the Alter Rebbe again in the Kitzur alludes to it too, that even Hashem comes even into the Midbar, which represents the Jews, which is Lo Yoshav Adam Sham. There's a Gemara in Sanhedrin, the Gemara says that they were walking in the street, and he said, let me tell you something. So he says, what does it say? He quoted a pasuk, and he said to him, a place that Hashem decreed people should live, people lived. Place where Hashem decreed people shouldn't live, that's jungles, midbar, all that type of stuff, where there's no civilization whatsoever. Not only that, it's not even sustenance for civilization. So that represents, the Rebbe is alluding to a question. Here we're saying Elul is a gilui for even people that are chaykim kokach, very, very far. Va'afal pikein, a gilui ein adam, yet, what happens in Elul? You're coming to a person who's very, very far, and you're just giving him the potential. How is that going to work? You're not awakening the person, you're not influencing the person in any way. You're just giving him, here's the key, you go do it. And yet, how do you reconcile these two things? From one side, Elul is Yud Gimel Midas Rachmim. And from the opposite side, we say it's only the giving the koyach, not actually doing it. So he says, Mamshach ba Maamar, the Alter Rebbe continues in the Maamar, Shagilu Yud Gimel Midas Rachmim be'Elul, that the Gilu of Yud Gimel Midas Rachmim in Elul is similar to Melech Basada, the king in the field. What does that mean? There's a king in the palace, and then the king comes into the field. So there's two differences. Chassidus explained, the Rabbi is going to explain. There's two differences between the king in the city and the king in the Masada. But the Geil, the Darig is Gilui. Number one, as far as Gilui. Where is the king? When the king comes into the field, he's not wearing the royal garments. He's not wearing the crown. He's mingling amongst the peasants. So over there, number one in the Gilui. Because Gilui, the Malach, B'yaftach Zaneinecha, where do you see the pasuk says the glory of the king? That's Behecha Malchusay, when he's Bavushi Malchus, wearing royal garments and Kesem Malchus. Mashenking Shuba Soda, when he calls out to Rebbe in a different place, it's only like a Levush Achitzin. He's only wearing an outer garment, he's not wearing the royal stuff. Aval Agilui Atzmei, but where is the primary gili of the king as the king? Is Kshuba Sada. The real gili of a king is not when he's in the palace, because in the palace nobody can go see him. He's hidden. So he says, when the king is in the palace, you need permission. Only unique people, special people are able to go into the king. Yet to be when the king is in the field, and not only that, and the king smiles at everybody and shows him good countenance. So it's an interesting thing. The real gilui of the king in the Malchus is the ultimate royalty of the king. But where is the king revealed? Accessibility. Where is the king revealed to everybody? In Dafka in the Sadek. That's number one. So it isn't the Nimshal. Which is the dogma of the king in the palace. Okay, he says like this, when you come into the palace, just coming into the palace, you get an awe of the king. That's from what's going around over there, that's from the scenery. He says, when the king is in the Eichel, and when he's wearing Vush Malchus, Kesem Malchus, who matul emo pachat, he creates fear. Not only that, the Medrash says, when you come into the palace, just seeing the nobles and the dukes, it is awesomeness. And then you have the king himself. But in order for a person, in other words, like this, if you have a peasant who doesn't know what a concept of a king is, he's going to come into the palace, he's just going to see a nice building. It doesn't matter if it's a rich man or a king. It's not going to affect him anyway because he has no comprehension. Not that he knows what the king is, but he doesn't even have a comprehension that there's something called a king. So in order to have the awe of Rosh Hashanah and Kippur, he said that's the Avodah of Elul. The Avodah of Elul is the Avodah of the person, the koyach that Hashem gives us in Elul, that we should be able to work and become a keli to the awesomeness and fear of the gilui of Rosh Hashanah and Kippur that taka stimulates the person. So it's a process.